Bonjour. Okay,
How are you?
very good. I am excellent today because I'm meeting you. I love meeting new people.
So, am I pronouncing your name Vitaly or Vitally? I mean,
Vitaly.
Vitaly.
Yeah, Vitaly.
Cool.
You're from Pakistan, right? Or you have
Yeah.
some. Okay, there is a place not far from Pakistan called Vital. Vital.
Okay.
It's in India actually. And
Right,
this
right.
is they worship the god of life, the god that gives life, and it's a
True.
pilgrimage place. Vitale, Vitale, and there's a chant called Vitale, Vitale. So
Nice.
so now you know.
Yeah, now I know. So you're originally from Germany or what?
No, I was born in Ukraine,
I see.
in Kiev. And when I was 12 years of age, we immigrated to Australia. I spent 30 years in Australia. I became engineer, MBA, worked for Telecom Australia, developing the internet network.
Mm,
And
cool, cool.
and then when I was 36, I went to America, met my wife, and spent 20 years in America.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
And now I'm talking to you
Yeah.
from Croatia. My wife is Croatian, so I'm talking to you from Croatia.
Oh, cool. That's amazing.
Yeah. How's that
So,
for a trip around the world?
yeah, of course, of course. I have traveled almost like 12, 10 to 12 countries so far.
Uh-huh.
I lived in the US for about close to 2 years. And then I moved back to Pakistan because there were
Oh,
some reasons.
yeah.
And then we started to do this Amazon business, like being
Fulfillment.
seller and creating businesses on Amazon.
Uh-huh.
It worked out well. And we spent like a couple of years, and then we realized that this Pakistani market has a great potential in doing businesses on Amazon or e-commerce
Oh,
and stuff like that. So
yeah.
because people call us third world country still, but there's a huge potential in this country in terms of providing services of IT, freelancing, e-commerce services, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we decided to help people build e-commerce businesses online,
Nice.
especially on Amazon and then Etsy. You might have heard about Etsy, ETSY. So it's a
Oh,
small
Etsy,
market.
Etsy.
Etsy.
Yeah, I know Etsy well. Excellent place. Yeah, crafts and more crafts. Yeah.
True, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So because we have a large market, very big market of producing handmade and craft items, DIY products and stuff like that. So now we have over 160,000 people in the Facebook community. And that's where this video is going to be published. And then
Excellent.
we have about overall, we have more than 500,000 the network reach of, we call it E-commerce Success Pakistan, or in short, ESP, simple as that.
Yes.
So welcome to this ESP video podcast.
They heard about Amazon sell, they tried it, they started working, they're making money, right? They didn't have enough understanding of what a businessman does, right, to grow the business. So they just go and spend it because they're poor, and they go, oh, I got money now, finally.
True.
I can afford it, right? What they don't
Exactly.
understand is that a smart businessman, yeah, he will spend a little bit, right? But he'll save a lot and put it back into the business to come up with the next level of growth.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So business is an investment opportunity. It's not just take the money out, take the money out, take the money out, right? Because if you take the money out, you starve it to death.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. So why don't we talk about this? Because to understand that, which is very important, is like, how do we manage cash flow? Basically, that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. How do I manage the cash flow so I don't run out of cash flow and have nothing to show for it, you know?
Correct. Yes.
You know, so and cash flow management is the, and then they didn't go to a financial school or MBA or so on. Some people, some of them are street smart, so they just inherently know, hey, I better save some, right? Their father taught them to save.
Exactly. Yeah, it happens. It happens. My father also did.
Yeah, exactly. My father said, if you make $10, save $5 for the future, because you don't know what tomorrow is going to come. So it's a yeah. So you see then what it becomes. It's not just education, right? It becomes a mentality. It's a mindset. Because I could go to the London Business School and know everything about financial, and I'll still buy the damn iPhone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. In fact, it's more likely I'll buy the damn iPhone because I think I'm a big guy now, right?
Yeah.
I deserve an iPhone, right? And I deserve it now. And there is no delayed growth. Yeah, now.
That's how some people think. I need it now.
Yeah. Why? Let's look at the mindset. Okay, because Robert Kiyosaki was all about understanding what's going on here in people's head, right? It's because the belief system that they're brought up, right? That they of lack of delayed gratification. In the simple terms, I'm not going to wait. Whatever I want has to happen now. Those people who wait, they're stupid. Life is now. You want to enjoy now, you spend now. If tomorrow you're poor, whatever. I was always poor. Now I make some money on Amazon. Of course I'm going to spend it. What do you want me to do? And you go, why you want to spend it? Well, because I was poor and now I have the money. You spend it while you have it, right? Yeah. That's a kind of mentality. It's a short-term vision, right? Which is normal, right? Because we're all, when you come from poverty, poor people are the worst with credit, right? They take on credit cards and they can't pay off, right? Because they don't understand that if you do that, you're going to be in a big hole, afterwards. True. And you're always going to be poor because you keep spending. Well, instead of reserving some for the future, investing it back into the future, you keep spending it. So you're exhausting the business, right? Now, it's in some respect, it is lack of knowledge, but I believe it's not just lack of knowledge. It is how can I say it? It's a programming. If my mother was poor, it's a mindset. If my mother was poor, I'm going to spend it. Yeah. Because, I don't know how to describe, because you're like a hungry man, always going to eat more. I decided, that this is the way I'm going to live my life, is I'm going to spend everything. Because tomorrow I want to be thrifty. Tomorrow you never know what happens. I want to live today. My parents lived all their life saving their little pennies. That's them. This is bad. I do the opposite of what my parents did. Usually, I rebel because I've seen that they were poor all their life. They didn't get them anywhere, and I don't. Exactly. And so now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to spend whatever I can, and take my credit card debt. True. That mentality is not just Pakistan, it's all over the world. In Croatia, here, the same. They're poor. And the more they're poor, the more credit card debt they have. I go, what's going on? They're driving all these new cars on the credit card. And they're selling their house. Afterwards, they have to sell the house because the credit card is maxed out. The only thing they own to pay for to the bank, the interest. Yeah. So they lost their house and everything. And they lost their family, everything they saved, the family saved. Because, and that is true, not just individual, but the countries. Do you notice how poor countries get exploited? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here is some money. Yeah, you want some money? Yeah, here is $100 million. You just have to pay us $50 million back.
It's so easy to really manipulate such people, actually.
Of course. Yeah, because you give them a carrot, and all they see is that they can buy things now. They don't realize that the interest is going to kill them. Yeah. Yeah, and they have to going to sell their country, literally Croatia and Pakistan, many other countries sell their land and all their resources to pay just for the interest.
There are a couple of things that I see when it comes to building the teams. So people, the team members, they don't stick to the commitments, because the employer or the team leader isn't able to pay higher salaries or higher wages right from the day one, because the employer or the leader is also building the team. He has started new. For example,
Yeah, it's from
majority
scratch.
yeah,
Yeah.
majority is in our case, because for example, in the Amazon and Etsy and all these online businesses, some people are younger. So, I mean, in their under 25th and stuff like that. So they don't really come up with a huge investment on their back, but they do have the brain. They have the talent, the potential to create or build the new business, especially around providing services for e-commerce, for freelancing, for IT-related services, stuff like that. Now they need team members.
Yes.
The talented ones. Talented people have this problem because they want to make money now. Like you said earlier.
Again,
they want to make money now.
They want to get paid now.
And correct. So if the leader is not in the position to pay hefty wages right from the day one, the team members don't stick to it. They just run away, or they just get distracted from other opportunities in the market.
Yes. Okay. So what would be your question? How do you keep the team together?
Yeah. So there are two things. I mean, when it comes to financial intelligence, I mean, how do we manage the finances in the beginning? There are two questions. Actually, it's more like a two-part question. The first one is, how do we manage the cash flow? For example, let's say you are selling on Amazon. Amazon doesn't pay you right at the time of the sale.
Yeah,
it
90 days.
Correct. So it takes a long time. Some people in Pakistan, usually they start with $10,000. Up and down. Some people do $5,000. Now they run out of cash because they buy the inventory. They have already invested all the money. They don't have the cash to pay to the team members. They have already run. Now the team members have to fly.
They're gone. That's right. Yeah. So this is called a transactionary approach. Transactionary, right? Even though there's no interest, basically, if you can't pay me, I don't work for you, right? And this is an employee mentality. Do you remember in Robert Kiyosaki, they have different quadrants? If you read the book, they have the employee mentality, right? Which is immediate gratification. We just talked about it. Like, I have the money, I spend it. If you don't pay me, I go, right? It's all very transactionary. Yeah, it's now. By the end of the week, you pay me. You don't pay me, I go. Right. Then there is entrepreneur mentality, which is, it's my business. So I have to put in first a month, 2 months, and maybe even a year, even if I'm poor and have no money, but this is my baby and I'm going to stick through it. It's kind of like a family, it's my wife. Exactly. What am I going to do? If she doesn't deliver me what I want, I divorce her straight away? No, it's a relationship. I got to invest into a relationship. So that's more like entrepreneur. And then there is investor mentality. Remember investor? And that's when you have money. Money makes money. You invest in property, and that's even longer term. It's all about, we start from the short term. Employees all short term. Entrepreneurs a little bit longer term, and investors sometimes years it takes payback. Right?
True.
So this is different mentalities depending which quadrant you're in. Now, but the problem is I'm an entrepreneur now. Well, I just became an entrepreneur. Yesterday I was an employee, right? Now I put $5,000. Now I'm an entrepreneur, right? And then I'm talking to my friend, my cousin, and says, "Hey, cousin, work for me." And the cousin comes and goes, "Okay, where is the money?" And he says, "I don't have the money. I'm going to have it in 3 months' time." He goes, "What? What kind of business is this?" Gone, right? So the job of an entrepreneur shifts from just selling stuff to becoming a leader.
Right.
A leader. And what does a leader do? Leader creates a community. A community needs a vision. Yeah. So a community needs a vision, right? Listen, let's say, I don't know, Prajit, let's call him, I don't know. Prajit, you're my cousin. I know you need money now. I know you want to spend it on your iPhone. But if you stick with me for another 3 months, we can make double the money. Okay?
True.
You have to trust me. You know, not only that, this is your business, not just my business. Because if we start making money, I want to make you part owner in this. You have certain percentage of ownership in this business. So when we make money, eventually, as we make more money, you will get a certain proportion of the business. I don't want to be the only boss. I want you to be part of. So now it's our business, not just my business. They don't do that. Most entrepreneurs say, I make money, but you still get my wages, you know? Right? So if I'm an employee, like what's in it for me? If you can't pay me, I have nothing else. I don't have a vision, you know, to work towards. I don't have ownership on anything. You get all the money, you're the boss now, and I get nothing. So you pay me now. So it's this lack of leadership that's the problem. It's not the problem that there is no money in a business. Everybody understands, you know, there is no money in the first 3 months or 1 year. But the fact that the entrepreneur doesn't sit down with employees or whatever and says, listen, you know, this is how it is. You know, here, everything is transparent. I can show you my books. Look, and doesn't educate the employees. So look, you see, we just had $5,000 coming in and we had $4,000 coming out. We have 1,000 to divide between 5 people. There is nothing to, like, I give you $200, but that's all I have. But next month, if we do well, we're going to have $15,000 and you're going to get more money and we grow together. And then when we get real profits, right, we're going to divide the profits between all of us too. So do you want to be part owner in this business with me? No, I don't want to. I just want my money up front. Fine. You're not my man. You can't be with me. I don't want those kind of employees.
Correct.
You know,
that's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have to have that conversation, which is how do we? What is our vision? What are we going for financially? You know, we're going towards a $50,000 business. We're going to be the best underwear salespeople in Pakistan. you know. Yeah. Why? Because we all love underwear. You know, and the kind of underwear we will get from China will be nobody will get. Okay, something to be proud of. You know.
True.
Do you want to sell underwear with us? I like it. Yeah, it sounds like an interesting idea. Okay. So now you understand why we do what we do, right? Simon Sinek said, it's not just what you do, why you do it. Right? So we have a purpose, and we have a common purpose. Yeah, we have a common purpose. Now we have something. We're building a community with a vision and a purpose, right? And we've also articulated to them that, listen, I'm not the kind of boss to just want to get rich on you, you know. I want all of us to profit from this, you know.
True.
Proportionally, if you put more work, you know, I mean, I put my $10,000 in it, so I get more return, right? Because you put nothing, so you get less return. If you want to put $1,000 into it, maybe I give you 1% or 5% of the business or something. Right?
True.
So you educate your employees the difference between employee, entrepreneur, investor. Yeah, literally. Get them to read Robert Kiyosaki. They all have to read the book.
The thing is, when we ask some people read the book, their mindset completely changes, actually.
Yes, so, of course, because they see, yes, yeah. It's one of the first books I read, and when I was a long time ago, I said, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Oh, the poor dad did not know what he was talking about. All his life is working hard and not making no money. Rich Dad became rich. Yeah. So I think it's a good book because it shows it's a mindset. It's how we think.
True. So right.
Yeah. And so
yeah, go ahead.
So the responsibility of any entrepreneur is not just to do selling and buying and marketing, but to become a team leader and educate his people. Yeah.
Agree. So I understand the leadership. It is more about the responsibility that I think that comes in leadership, and we have to produce the leaders' mindset. I was also reading this book, The Leaders Eat Last.
Yeah, Simon Sinek.
The way it tells you the details in terms of how to produce the leadership mindset. And I completely agree that we do have to sometimes eat last. I mean, to get out of, from all the revenues, the income from the company, in the company, the leader actually keeps his share in the last. I in my company at least, that's how we have divided, we have distributed the shares, the different percentages of the income, and that's how people are connected. Yeah, I'm lucky. I have some very loyal people in my team. They are not really sticking because of the money. They are sticking because of the vision. The same thing that you explained. I mean,
Yes.
I'm already following this kind of stuff, and
Of course,
there are people in my team, they follow my vision, so they stick to it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, so vision is one. Vision, purpose, why are we here? See, most people, they don't want to just sell underwear. I don't know why I have underwear, because in my mind, because I don't know, people sell all sorts of crazy stuff, right? It's like, I'm a young man. What do you do? I sell underwear on Amazon. Oh my God, I can't go to a party and say, this is what I do. Really? How's that going to sound, right? So most people want to have a meaningful vacation, right? Beside money, I mean, they want to get paid, right? The second part is that you have to understand they want meaning, they want community. They want to say to their girlfriend or boyfriend, you know what I'm doing? I go, what? Well, I'm doing this, I'm selling this, and it's so exciting, right? And it makes me happy, and I'm contributing to the other people I'm selling, So the other responsibility issue is to create meaning, is to create an environment that supports people and say, it's not just a job, we're actually doing some good things,
Right.
So just because you sell products, it doesn't mean you have to sell them just for money,
Right.
You could say, we maybe it's ecological sustainability right? You have to find something that you're passionate, so it's a underwear, but it's recyclable. I don't know. Or it's nappies, how people sell nappies is a big business, right? But these nappies are ecologically friendly, or maybe it's not none of that. Maybe it's just the product is so good, it's quality, right? And so instead of putting it in a bin, people get really used to, this underwear you can wear for 10 years. Probably not a good idea, but it's the product, it's quality,
True.
But you have to be proud in something, right? You have to be proud of your product. If you just do it purely for the money, there is nothing there for anybody to get excited about, right?
Exactly.
If it's just the money, like, I don't know, in your business, what do you sell? What do you sell?
We sell everything. We do private labels, but usually we focus more on the wholesale side, the wholesale FBA side. So we source from the existing suppliers and brands, and we sell their products.
Sometimes I work for years with those. So the buyers, they spend a lot of time choosing a watch that is very price affordable, but still good quality. That's hard to do, right? Because it's usually Chinese cheap stuff that only works for 3 months, and then you throw it in the bin, right?
True.
That's why Walmart is $1 billion corporation, because believe it or not, their buyers are very proud of what they do. They say, we know we're the lowest affordable ones for people who can't afford expensive goods, but we try to do the best job of selecting quality products.
Right? Agree.
That's meaning. That's why it's not a coincidence that Walmart is a multi-billion dollar corporation. They have ethics, they have certain rules, they have certain principles they'll work by. What is the problem is that you haven't articulated those principles to you, and that's what we stand for. We know that a lot of people in Pakistan cannot afford expensive watches, so we're going to choose the best quality for the lowest money that they can have, and this is what our meaning. That is meaning.
Agree. True.
Yeah. And we're not going to compromise too. If tomorrow a Chinese guy calls me, I know a lot of the Chinese guys, and says, "Hey, I have this extra, we printed it, how it is. They give you this special, you just buy half a container." half the price for you. And you go, send me a sample because I've done this. And you look at it and go, oh my God, this is not going to last. This is defective stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes they even sell you used stuff. It looks like new. They just repackage it, right?
Yeah. True.
You know how all those deals, right?
Chinese can do anything.
Huh?
Chinese people can do anything.
Yeah, because they just want to sell you stuff, right? Well, if you articulate what you do to your employees and your customers and say, this is what I do daily, I get pitched all sorts of crap. And I go, no, that's not for my customers. My customers deserve better. Right? My employees deserve better. They don't want to be, I don't want to lose face because of some Chinese guy who wanted me to make more money on this product. Or maybe it's a stolen product. Huh?
That's a very good point, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, to stand out.
You want to go one level up? Here is the next level up for you. And I'm not going to, you know, maybe your religion is your, but sometimes, I mean, if I'm a Muslim person, I say, listen, what I believe is in karma or whatever. I believe in karma. Whatever I give to people, yeah, come back to
I do. It's amazing. It works.
Yeah, you said that's what he said, this is the meaning we have. Okay, maybe just underwear or maybe just a watch, but it's not a watch. It's about karma that I give out. We have exchange. Yes, I give out that watch. And if the person is not happy and he goes, oh my God, I feel cheated. You know, I paid all this money and this watch stopped within 3 months and I can't return it because my warranty ran out. I go, I feel bad. That's not good karma.
That's correct.
Yeah, and if you build that karma over hundreds of customers, you cheated enough customers. That's not a good, and unfortunately, still almost like 50%. Now, Amazon eventually will get you out of the system because Amazon has its own filtering system. But a lot of them make enough money just to make a lot, you know, and then they start a new account. You know, the Chinese have 20 Amazon accounts, right?
True.
So here is meaning making by ethical integrity, you know, understanding how the karma works. And now you're creating a community to say, guys, yes, we're a business, but we're more than a business. We're here to give services, products to people in a way that, you know, that's agreed with the Muslim law, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now we're going, now we're building a community based on spiritual understanding.
Yeah.
Creates
meaning.
Now I work for you. Sorry, what's the name of your business again?
ESB.
Yeah, now I work for ESB, and I'm sitting at a party and talking to a girlfriend. Says, "What do? I sell underwear." She says, "Oh my God, really?" He goes, "Yeah, but it's not just the underwear. You know, or we sell all the watches and so on. It's more than that." She goes, "Why?" He goes, "We are following the Muslim tradition. And we understand how that people, you know, it's not just the product. There is karma. With every product we sell, we build karma. And so what we do is build good karma. We build, you know, we give the best service for the best money. And if people are not happy, we always listen and do and make sure we rather lose some money than make somebody unhappy as our customers. That's bad karma. You know, our reputation as a Muslim, as a person, is more important than making an extra dollar. Now the girlfriend goes, oh, I like this guy. I'm going to marry him.
True.
Yeah. So that now you're spreading, what you're doing is you're spreading, if you're looking at it from a smart business point of view, you're spreading the trust factor, the goodwill of your business in your community, you know. And then you can even write about that on Amazon, why you stand, how the Muslim tradition reinforces business. You do articles and blogs. Now you're becoming a leader in merchandising from a meaning perspective.
Agree.
Yeah, doesn't matter what you could be still selling that damn underwear, but it's not about underwear anymore. It's about how you treat people.
Yeah. True. Agree.
This is what I call a spiritual business.
A spiritual business, yeah.
Yeah. I had a program, a TV show called Business with Spirit.
Really?
A TV show, yes. I hosted it. I produced it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, in America, I thought I'll become a opera, another Winfrey opera.
Oh.
So
Oh.
why I did that? Because I said it doesn't matter if you're a small businessman, if you're selling papadums on the street, if you're selling underwear on Amazon, if you're selling watches to if you follow the spirit and if you follow the wisdom traditions, what you're selling is energy. You
Energy.
live energy, positive energy versus negative energy. Yeah, it's okay. If I sell you a watch that's made by some slave labor in China, and I find out, oh my God, this is 5-year-olds are working in that factory. What kind of energy, what kind of karma am I creating? Yeah, I'm making 5-year-olds work in the factory day and night, so I can make my $2 on the watch.
True.
I'm a businessman, but I've created bad energy.
Yeah.
So my responsibility as a businessman, as a Muslim, is not just about the product. It's about creating good karma, good energy, to spread that energy in a positive way. And so now it's becoming a spiritual quest, and not just a business.
I think when you are spreading the positive energy in any way, either it's your business or your relationships or life or whatever.
Yeah.
I think you also start to receive the positive energy from all the corners, I would say. I mean, I have experienced it. When I see things like, okay, I want to do something good with people, or just somebody specifically, in return I have received 10 times better.
Of course,
Maybe
that's how the universe works. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Most of the time, if you keep giving from the heart, and sure, you need to make money to run the business, but you're very clear that you need positive karma, positive energy. You watch what you do, and sometimes you make a mistake. You might buy that stupid watch and you didn't realize it was made by child labor, and you go, "I'm sorry, my apologies. Honestly, I didn't know." Whatever. Or maybe it's a defective product, and you take it back and you say, "My loss." This, and be very open and transparent about that. Most people will give you a second chance.
Yeah.
But if you operate like that on ethics, then with time, what you do, you build kind of like a reserve bank, like the good karma bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I go, oh, that guy, that SVB guy, I don't even know you, but I know SVB. Every time I buy from him, it's just the right stuff, and I never had a bad experience with this guy. And I did have once, and he was just like bang, straight on top of it. He returned it. He apologized. I like dealing with that guy. Of course, your business is going to grow and grow and grow.
That's how people connect with you. That's what I have seen, and this kind of relationships stay longer for a long period of time. People trust you. It's not just about a few dollars. I think it's about maintaining the relationships, the feelings of the people.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're in my model, I call a living organization. We build an aspect. We have a book on Amazon called The Living Organization by Norman Wolf. My business partner, Norman Wolf, is 74 years old young man.
and is your brand?
This is our framework. The Living Organization is our brand. Yes.
And Amazon?
It's on Amazon. The book. Yeah.
Oh, the book. Okay.
It's the book. Cool. It's a book. Yeah, on Amazon. But because what we identified is we thought really hard, because we're all businessmen for many years. Big business, small business, startup business. We identified 3 levels of energy. It's because we're also spiritual. I was Buddhist. I studied Hinduism and Muslim tradition, Jewish tradition. Yeah. So I studied all the wisdom tradition, because I thought that, hey, if they spend 3,000 years thinking about it, maybe there's something good there, right? I can't be so ignorant. Yeah. So what we identified, there's 3 levels of energy, and it's very relevant to business. The first is a transactional activity level. We just buy and sell stuff. Okay, transactional energy. It's just activity.
Right.
We make stuff, but it's good. It's the doing part. The second part is the relational energy. That's how what you say. It's how you relate to people with love or with hate, with trust or mistrust. With fear or love. And that shows up in how you relate. People pick it up straight away in your business. If you're like fearful, oh my God, I just want to sell them the thing and run away. They can sense it. Yeah. So, and then there is the third level, and we call it the context level or meaning level, the meaning level, right? Why are we here? What is the meaning of all this business? That is that's the spiritual level, why are we here on this planet?
Agree. Right.
Most of the time we're on the transactional level. I buy this watch from this guy, I sell for margin this guy, I make sure that it gets there on time. And this is all good, right? I think we need to do it. You have to be very smart logistics. It's the logistics of Amazon. And you can't do without it, because if you don't have the right inventory, if you don't have it on time, you're screwed. I mean, you're done. You don't need any other levels because you don't have the damn watch. Right.
Correct.
So we have to respect that. We have to good logistics, good warehousing, all of that, all best practices. But the business is not going to grow just for good logistics if you don't have the relationship level. If you're not consciously saying, guys, the way we're going to relate to clients is like my brother and sister. I would not sell my brother and sister this watch. Why would I sell to anybody else?
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, so when that shifts, then you have a very kind of different business, right? You judge by your family. These are your family, even though they're strangers. But in Muslim tradition, they're not strangers. They're brothers and sisters. Doesn't matter even if they have different faith. It doesn't matter. They're still God's people, right? Yeah.
Right.
So now, as a leader, your job is to have that philosophy, right? They follow the wise people and say, okay, so now this is how we treat people. It's like they're your brothers and sisters. They're God's children. So that is how we're going to sell to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And why? What does that mean? Because maybe my meaning my meaning is love. Maybe I'm here to really spread love, even though I'm selling underwear. Really, I'm selling love. I know it sounds. You see how weird it sounds, because most people think, oh no, you have to be a guru, you have to be in it to talk about love. I go, no, I sell underwear with love. Right?
Okay. Right.
And this is what the ancients, the Buddha himself, I don't know, Buddha said once, when you don't have to be a guru, you don't have to be a monk, you don't have to be a priest. You just go into your heart and live from your heart. And you can be a simple fisherman, you can be trading, but if you live from here, as well as smart businessman, you are following the traditions of the wise ones, And so now that's why it's business with spirit is the business that you work at all 3 levels, right? But you cannot miss any one of those levels. If you could be selling with love and have no money in your bank account, you're done. No more selling. Because I've seen the other ones. You go, oh yeah, it's all love. I can give. Yeah, but if you're not, as we just talked at the start of the session, if you don't understand how to save and how to do smart stock taking and smart purchasing, so you don't get cheated and so on, then the love disappears because you have nothing to sell. So it's very hard for businesses to work at all 3 levels, right? But I believe this is what the Living Organization is about. If you start with the top one, why am I here? What do I stand for? What are my beliefs? And if you spread that and throughout your whole organization and your customers and your suppliers, the rest is much easier, because you will attract suppliers that are ethical, that are genuine, that have good karma. You will attract employees that believe in the same vision, same meaning,
Mhm.
And then now you build a temple. You don't just, you're literally not just a business, you're a temple.
Yeah. Okay.
I know it's weird, right?
No, it's not.
Because,
It's not. Honestly, I mean, uh, I'm, I'm loving it, to be honest,
okay.
because what you are talking is something I mean, part of it I already practice in my
Yes.
business, in my life, but I didn't know the words, probably the levels, the energy levels. You have
Yeah.
explained very well, amazing,
Thank you.
and I do see. Cool.
And
That's it works. So tell me something. How? I mean, what's the status of your Amazon business? I mean, what do you sell? I mean,
oh,
I'm not asking your products, just
no, I'm
what other.
done with business. That was I finished 2015 or 2016. I ran it for 3 or 4 years, right? So I was
Oh,
an Amazon affiliate, actually. I was an affiliate, right?
affiliate.
So
Okay.
I did blog reviews,
Correct. Correct.
and then I wrote a lot of, and then when the people click on I used to get percentage of the business, yeah. And
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
I had a lot of blogs, a lot of blogs. Oh,
Really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I had 62 blogs, and almost in every category,
Oh
in
my.
furniture and jewelry, and yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I built a big business, but then Amazon decided to pull the program. I mean, they started paying less and less commissions. I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember those days.
Yeah, and they
And
dropped it. I remember that. Many of our students were actually hurt because of this.
yeah,
I
yeah. So
mean,
I got out. But I have another business. I had a publishing business, spiritual education and positive
really?
affirmations. Yeah. So me and my wife
Mhm.
ran it for 18 years, called Pearls of Wisdom. And
I see.
yeah, so we started with $2,000.
Okay.
Because my wife wanted to put positive quotes on stickers, put on stickers like a clean,
Right, right,
steady
right.
clean. She
Mhm.
said, if you're watching something over and over again, you get positive energy. Yeah?
Of course.
She started for herself, and then eventually we started selling thousands of these little stickers all over the United States, through wholesalers, and then through Australia, UK. So we sold over 1 million of those stickers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow. Amazing.
we had a graphic designer. I would design it together, and we printed them through a printing company. So we just did the design. Everybody else did the selling and so on.
Mhm.
So it was
Right.
18 years. We ran it for about since 2004 until we're still running it, but it's almost, yeah. It was a long time. So now
Yeah.
I don't yeah, I'm out of that business, but I did a lot of different businesses like that.
I see. So I read your LinkedIn profile earlier. It says CEO and board advisor of this Medford Grand Spas area. No,
Yeah,
where's the company?
yeah, with Portland, Oregon, we're in Oregon, USA. We have a small company there right now, me and my business partner. So this is a new company, about 4 years old, and we help CEOs of small businesses, SME businesses, to build a living organization.
Amazing. Wow.
To bring the spirit into the workplace, to improve their money side, to smart business, cash flow, and so on, but do it from here. Yeah,
From the heart.
yeah, yeah, from the heart. Yeah, and a heart-centered business, heart-centered wisdom, and we're finding, believe it or not, CEOs of big companies. I mean, we're talking about multi-million. Right now, we have a couple of customers. One is over 80, 100 million,
Ah,
and yeah, and others. So, with, believe it or not, in America, in the Christian tradition, also in Europe, people are waking up and saying, it's not just a business. Yeah, we don't just want to have a factory, people coming in, doing their work, getting their paycheck, going home. Like it's like you know, we want to inspire people, we want to educate people, we want to work to be meaningful, right? And so
mhm.
even large businesses, huge businesses like Michelin, Mac Tires is a multi-billion-dollar business, talking about meaning at work, talking about purpose at work, talking about leading from the heart. This
Agree.
is now, yeah, this is the new, because, and with COVID, a lot of people, for a while, sat at home, right? Everything stopped. And I went back in. I go, what do I want out of my life? Do I want to be like is this just about money thing? He goes, no, it's not about money. I want meaningful vacation. I want meaningful work. I want to contribute to something. I want to make an impact in the world, you know? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people are changing their values from just, hey, money is enough, to no, money is not enough for me. I want to work for a business that has values.
Right.
And that's happening mass, like a million, not just in Pakistan. I mean, now maybe in third world countries a little bit different, because like poor countries, so as long as I can get paid, I'm good, right? Mm-hmm. But even in India now, the middle class is rising, and they no longer don't want just a job; they want a meaningful job.
Correct, meaningful job.
Yeah, and it is our responsibility as small business owners to create meaningful businesses. I believe, yeah, mm-hmm. And we can change. And this is for our children too. This is not just for us, because for generations we had meaningful businesses. They were usually family businesses. Remember, 200 years ago, your father works in the craft. Whatever he makes, leather or whatever, it was like a family. It's not a business. It's what we do. It's what we give. He's a shoemaker, right? We had a lot of meaning. Then with industrialization, we lost it. We went into the factories and the production lines, and it was just all about money and production. Mm-hmm. So for 200, 300 years in the West, and the English brought it to India, they set up a system where it was just a factory. Doesn't matter what you do. You're just a cog in the wheel. Mm-hmm. We lost the meaning from work. When work became meaningless, we created huge psychological rifts in our society. Literally a lot of depression, antidepressants, Mm-hmm. We created consumerism. So if I can't get meaning, I'm going to buy an iPhone. Literally, this is the reason I want an iPhone, because I have nothing else in life. This is the only thing, consumerism.
Agree.
So there is a big hole in the psyche, in the soul of the young people, that needs to be filled, because we've industrialized, our workplace. It's not a family anymore. We don't work in families. And I think we have to reverse that, because otherwise we have huge psychological problems. Even though you're going to have your iPhone and you're going to have your food, but you have no meaning in life.
True. Yeah. That's how it's happening, actually. That's what I see in many people.
Yeah, and that goes into a relationship. So you marry a woman just because of her dowry or whatever. I don't know why you marry her. You don't even know why you marry her. Or you marry your husband because he thinks he makes money on Amazon. Okay, wonderful. So that's a meaningless relationship. Instead of meaning, we have the same values. We have the same belief systems. We stand for spirit. We stand for giving, for love. Marriage is a love sanctuary, right? Yeah. That's what it was designed for. It wasn't designed to feed your kids.
True.
And because we took out of a marriage the sacred, the love, now marriage is all about transactions. You give me the money, I give you children.
I agree.
Right? We've lost that. So we need. So what I realized is the reason we call it a living organization, because organization is like a family. If the same void of meaning in the family transfers into the business, mm-hmm. And so our society became all about consumerism. Can you multiply it by 1 million? The whole Pakistan chasing after iPhones. What do we have? We have a meaningless society. We lost purpose, with no purpose.
Right. True.
I had two choices as a young man. I walked out as I was a corporate executive, already managing millions of dollars, and I got very sick. My body got very sick. And when I went to psychotherapists and I went to some Buddhist monks, and I said, "Oh, you're very lucky, very lucky." I go, "What am I lucky? I'm in bed for 3 years. What you have is a spiritual crisis." Oh. I go, spiritual crisis. He goes, yes, you finally realize that you cannot be just consumer. You exist for love. You exist to serve God. and you've lost your way, and you're one of those young people that luckily your body has shut down because you realize you are not operating with spirit.
Okay. Wow.
I go, what the hell? He said, no, I'm here to make money. He goes, no, you're not. So money is good. So money is good, but you've lost the spirit. You don't understand why you exist in the world. I go, and then it took me many years to realize, oh, you're right. I've lost because I was climbing. Come from poor family, climbing the hill, consumer goods, cars, girlfriend, sex, whatever. Filling up from outside, empty on the inside.
Yeah.
Empty, totally empty. Then one day I just said, this is all meaningless. I'm at the top of the career. I'm making I'm making more than $100,000. I have my house, I have my girlfriend, and it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Like, where do I go? I'm 32 years of age, and I'm already done. I don't have no meaning. And so my body collapsed, and then I started discovering, so you have to work at all levels. Not that money is bad. Money is good. It's fine. But if it doesn't have meaning, it's not going to make you happy. Yeah. So now I had two choices. Do I become a spiritual guru and go and say, all about love and, and meditation, okay? Or do I become a spiritual businessman?
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to do the opposite because I said, we don't need no more gurus. There's plenty of gurus in India and Pakistan, right? And actually my Buddhist monk said, please don't come to the temple. You do not want to be a monk. I go, why not? He goes, we have enough monks. Go out there and teach the business people how to, work with karma, work with love.
Wow.
They needed much more. This is where most population is spend time all day long, right? They don't spend in temples anymore. Nobody goes to the temple. So my mother says, go there, teach them there. And if we can have thousands of businesses, small businesses, become spiritual temples, quote marks, we can reach. I believe through business, through small business, actually, particularly, we can shift the consciousness of the population. We can have more meaning in our societies, in our homes, because whatever you do, these are home businesses. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
You operate a business from home now. It's the same thing, man. So if there's more meaning in business, more meaning for family too, because you have your kids, your family, your cousins are all working with you.
Correct.
Yeah. So then I thought, wow, what if we create, if our purpose is to enlighten the business and create good, we can, millions of people can be affected by it, and we can make really good money at the same time. We don't have to sacrifice the money part.
Correct.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, Vitaly, it was amazing. I have learned a lot from you, from these few things. Actually, you explained very well, especially the things about energy levels, the meanings, especially the purpose.
And how it all brings together as a leader. It's how a leader's responsibility is to work at all those levels. And if they don't know how to do it, to go and learn. This is available, right? On You Teach courses.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
I want to promote you first because you're right there in Pakistan. Go and learn from this guy.
So how can you help? According to your existing business and stuff like that, if people wanna contact you for anything specific, if you are available of your team or something, what can people do?
What can I do with me? Right now, we are focused on slightly larger businesses. We're working on businesses, just because how we work. We haven't developed a course or training for small businesses, like under 1 million.
Right. Okay.
But maybe me and you in the future can develop a course or together.
That'd be great.
Because the only reason I work with large business because they can pay me. Be really honest, right?
Of course.
When I work with a small guys that I'll pay you $2,000 next year, I go, well, how can I live? I live in the West, not in Pakistan, so my bills
Yeah,
are
of course.
higher.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I'm a businessman, so I have to make money. But if we can get scale, like if we can put 500 people through a course, and even if they pay only $50, you know, then if we can get scale, then we can work at that level. Yeah, because we have technology, right? We have Zoom, we have everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would love to learn more about your company, or I mean, the way your business works, especially for my own people, my students, everyone.
Excellent.
But
Excellent.
I understand your concerns and your, I mean, your reservations as well. The only thing is, so it would work in a way. So if whenever you get a chance, you may send me some details about your
Sure.
programs or how things work,
Yeah.
for even if it is for $1 million company. So
Yeah.
I can at least go through some briefings of it, and
Sure.
then I can suggest you or create something around it so we can better fit it for our people. And I
Absolutely.
think,
So, yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
So maybe we start with the book. I mean, also, I really encourage you to read the book. You can download it from Amazon. you know,
The Living Organization.
yeah, The Living Organization by Norman Wolfe. Yeah, I'll send you the first 3 chapters, and I'm happy to circulate that around. By the way, you can
Amazing.
say,
I would love that.
yeah, because some people can't even afford that in Pakistan. So I will send you a PDF of the first 3 chapters. All right, it's
Sure.
everything we thought about. Put it down. That's a theoretical framework. Okay.
Okay.
And then there is a practical framework of how we actually go and help CEOs. And I'll send you a video, 20-minute video, how we do that. Again, you're welcome to learn from or whatever, right? This is everything I know. I put into like little 20-minute video of how we take the CEO through this kind of thinking.
That would be great.
Yeah. So both between those two things, and then there is the website quantumleaders.com. This is we have
Quantum
website.
leaders.
Quantum leaders, like quantum
I get it.
yeah, because
Yeah.
and this is the new leadership approach.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of free material there. There's blogs, there is talks there. If you go into speaking sections, free talks and podcasts, a lot of educational material on quantumleaders.com.
I'll go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go through these stuff, and I'll wait for this book as well.
This was from 6. We almost did an hour and.
Yeah, we talked a lot.
A lot. Yeah, almost 2 hours. Okay, wonderful. Good to meet you, my friend.
I mean, I'm sure whoever watches this video will learn something great out of it. You have provided some really pearls from your knowledge and experience. So I really appreciate that, Vitaly. And thank you so much for your time. If there is anything we or I can do in order to help you or your businesses, that would be great. Do let me know on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, now, what do you say in Pakistan? How do you say a blessing in Pakistan?
I mean, when we greet, we say Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, yes, yes.
And then you respond to it with Wa alaikum assalam.
Oh, wa alaikum assalam. Yes,
correct.
Yes.
And then when we leave, I mean, somewhere, so instead of goodbye or something, we say Allah Hafiz. It means
Hafiz.
Allah means God, and Hafiz means the protector. So God be protector for you. So that's what we say. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Yes, I remember now, because I used to do a chant called Assalamu alaikum. It was a whole chant. Yeah.
Oh, see, that's nice. That's nice.
Wonderful. Good to meet you, my friend, and we'll keep in touch.